Hey guys, we're headed out to the shop today in nice, crispy, snowy Ohio. Got one thing I want to get off my list today. Been looking forward to doing it for a while, so we'll get after it. So my goal for today is to get this into there. Right there. So for a while, I've contemplated what all I need to get it in there as far as a lift and like engine lift and everything, and I really need a plate. So I need a plate to go on here to properly lift it securely and safely. And you can buy them, they're pretty cheap, but I think that I have plenty of stuff to make one, so why not make one? So that's what I'm gonna do. First, this trailer's got to come out so I have plenty of room to work. So now that I got some floor space cleared out, I can start building my plate. So here's some plate material I have. It's plenty thick enough. It was off of some old cart thing, but just in my scrap. I'll probably cut a square plate out of there. Maybe use this for reinforcement. Seems like most of the plates that you see online are pretty simple, so I think we'll end up just doing like a flat plate with a 90 with a hole to hook through, and then I'll probably put some reinforcement on the side. But I mean, this big block's like, I think 800 pounds fully dressed, so got to make sure it's plenty strong enough, so I'll definitely put some reinforcement on there. Little backstory on the truck. It's an 87 F350 custom 4-wheel drive, big block 5-speed manual. Currently it's a dually, but I'm swapping that out. Going to single wheel. My dad is more interested in the dually part, so he's getting that. The original engine had an issue. It ended up seizing. Valve train seized and it bent 2 push rods. So I was gonna rebuild it, but I mean, I found this donor engine for cheaper than a rebuild, so I went with it. And it's a little older. It's a 78 model, so internally balanced. So there's gonna be a couple things I gotta change on it, but I'll probably test fit it. That's why I'm building this plate, so I can get it put in there and figure out what needs modified. But it's a low mile 78 motor, super clean. I don't have any complaints on it. I've already swapped my aluminum intake. Came out of a running truck, so it's pretty much ready to drop in. There's a few differences, but we'll get those worked out. First thing on the list is going to be measuring out how wide I need the plate and hole locations, and we'll get that cut out of that piece of metal, and I can list those dimensions for you, because this is all going to be a standard 4-barrel size. So if you want to build it yourself at home, you can just follow along with me. So what it's looking like is here to here is 5 5/8, and side to side is 5 1/8. So what I'll probably do, I want to have plenty of excess left on the sides, just for reinforcement. So I'll probably end up cutting one about 7 by 7 and go from there. All right, we got our plate cut out. Looks like it's gonna work perfect. I've deburred the edges, rounded the corners, just a little stuff. Make it a little safer to work around. Obviously I have to clean some paint off when it comes to putting the next brackets on, but so that's 7.5 by 7.5 square. Obviously this is a little rectangle, but the big square will work fine. Next I will plot out those holes, and we'll get those drilled, make sure it bolts on right, and then we'll work on the 90-degree bracket and the diagonal braces. All right, guys, so how I did this was I calculated the difference between, so like here we needed 5 1/8, so I calculated the difference between 7.5 and 5 1/8. So basically, if you measure 1 1/8 inches inwards on both sides, mark a line, that gives you 5 1/8 here, somewhere in there. I mean, I'm gonna drill a little bit oversized hole just to give me a little clearance, mostly because Sharpie isn't that accurate, as you all know. But then for here, we needed 5 5/8, so the difference is 7/8. So then top and bottom measure in 7/8. Gives you your hash marks, and then all you do is cross them. I'll stamp them out, and then we'll head over to the drill press. So I don't know about you guys, but when I'm drilling, 9 times out of 10, I just use a step bit. These are cheap Harbor Freight step bits, goes clear up to a 1/2 inch. It works fine. They're pretty disposable. I just like the convenience of doing whatever I need to, especially on the thin plate steel. I mean, can't go wrong with that, always having what you need. They do dull out a bit faster than other ones, but I mean, for what I do, it works just fine. So now I'm gonna drill those out and we'll go from there. I should say, is I went ahead and drilled out the holes to 1/2 inch. The studs are only 5/16. Yeah, only 5/16. But I like having the extra play. You never know. One engine might have a bigger stud, or, I mean, there's just too many variables. So I drilled them out to 1/2 inch. I'll just use a washer or something just to make sure I get plenty of coverage for the nut. And so now I'm going to move on to the vertical bracket that we'll hook the hoist to. So we're back at the vise here. Just another piece of flat stock. Had to straighten it out, had a bend in it, but that's all right. So I think probably what I'll do is tack weld this vertically, and then I'm going to put some sort of structure here on the end, and then maybe a small reinforcement in the middle, and that should be plenty fine. But before I tack weld this, I want to drill a hole. That way I can do it in the drill press instead of with a drill. It's a lot easier that way. So I changed my mind on just drilling one single hole in the middle. What I decided to do was, so I measured to center, and so I have a 1 inch spread here, 1 inch spread here, and that gives me 1 inch of material up here if I want to weld a reinforcement. So now, basically I drilled these pilot holes so that I can cut out a triangle to make it easier to hook in. So now I'll go in there and I'll cut those out, and then we'll have a hole to hook. And then I can go about welding this on and working on the reinforcement. Here's where we're at, mocked up and ready to be tack welded. It's looking pretty solid, so I'll start welding. Alright, so just got a couple of tacks on there. Set her back down. That's going to be just fine. Be able to just hook right through there. So now, for the best thing, I'm going to put some reinforcement on each end here. And, well, here and here. And then, I don't know, I may put something in here. But really, if I just lap weld right here, we'll be just fine. So, next step it is. Let's get welding. Obviously I've cleaned like where I'm tacking, but you can see on the bottom it starts to burn through. But what that causes is the paint to burn, and you really don't want to breathe that in. So I figured I'd throw this in the video, just for everybody's safety out there. Make sure you clean this paint off. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but just take the extra time to do it, and then you don't have to worry about it getting in your lungs or anything bad like that. Alright, I got her all welded up here. Looks pretty good. I think it's plenty rigid enough. I'm going to let it cool off. Just don't want to put all the weight on it while it's still hot and soft. So we'll let her cool off, and then we're going to try it out. We'll let this cool off, and then we'll put some bolts on there and try her out. Alright guys, here's the moment of truth. We got her all cooled down, bolted down. So, let's see if she works or not. I think it'll work just fine, but there's only one way to find out. One way. Alright guys, check that out. That easy. This took me a couple hours. I saved however much these are. I didn't even look how much they were. But it's holding strong. I'm going to let it hang here for a little bit, just see if there's any fatigue showing, but should be just fine. But everything worked out, so call that a success. But man, I love the satisfaction of just taking some flat metal that's in my shop and making it into a useful tool like this. Works really well, makes me happy. Didn't spend any money, just a little bit of time. If you guys have any questions about, the thickness of the material or, the idea behind anything on it, you just feel free to leave a comment. But remember to like and subscribe. I'll be doing lots of little stuff like this. It's what I really enjoy doing. It's why I decided to make a YouTube to help you guys out. Don't be afraid to try anything. As far as, when it comes to building something, you don't have to have the best tools. Like I just have a simple welder from Harbor Freight, an old angle grinder that's missing parts off of it, but I've used it for 5 years and works fine. You don't need the best things to get jobs like this done. If you learned anything from me, let it be that. But look forward to making the next video, and we'll see you there.